What's going on, everybody? My name is Ben and welcome back to the bench for another episode of our F4D-1 Skyray on Ben Builds with Joe. We're going to be moving forward today, guys, and I'm going to try to get the Skyray looking a little bit more like a Skyray. Now, last time I worked on the nose here and got the cockpit installed. Have a few seams here and there I need to contend with, but nothing some jeweler files and some super glue won't fix. Looks pretty good. Also, we took a lot of time and installed the wing tips onto the sections of the wings, both top and bottom. That worked out really well because it eliminated any sort of step between wing and wingtip. So I did that for the bottom section as well, and everything looks pretty dialed in, and a little bit of sanding just to make sure that we have a nice smooth finish, and we're good to go with that. We also did some work on the engine as well, added in some 3D styrene right around the inside of the aperture to give a little bit of robust detail. And now we're going to shift our attention over to the wings. But that adds another little level of difficulty because the Skyray has these little wing extensions that pop out of the back of the wings themselves. And Tamiya has you install those before you glue the fuselage together, which normally would work fine. But we want to go ahead and try to pivot these at an upwards angle. And to do that, we can't really have them installed because we still have to do some painting, and that's going to expose the seam between the upper and the lower section of the fuselage. So we need to go ahead and figure out how to go ahead and do that. I'd prefer to install these after the fuselage is already together. So I'm going to have to probably cut these off this center connection and install the right and left sides individually. Then I just go ahead and match the angles and we're good to go. And that I can do after the fact. I don't have to do it before I glue the fuselage together. I can go ahead and wait, paint everything up, get that silver band around the end of the engine, and in theory, not worry about it at all. Also, thanks to Joe, I was alerted to a possible seam issue for the top of the spine right here between nose and rear of the aircraft. So I'm going to do some clever sanding and hopefully try to eliminate that or at least reduce it significantly, add a little bit of filler, and we're good to go. So let's go ahead and jump into our first time lapse, guys. Get this party started. I want to go ahead and get the wings glued together. I want to drill out those gun ports as well, cut and fit those rear wing extensions, and of course get the leading edges all nicely filled and sanded down. Lots of work to be done here, guys, so let's go ahead and jump in. Let's get this ball rolling. All right, we are back and I've gotten everything more or less sanded down, and I actually have improved the fit of the nose to the main portion of the fuselage. That's really, really nice. I didn't want to have a huge gap, and no, Joe warned me about that, so thank you, Joe, again. And that's one reason why I like doing these sort of buddy builds, because we can kind of have each other's backs, you know? If there's something that I see that's like, oh, this is going to be a problem, I can let Joe know to watch out for a certain area, and vice versa, he can let me know when he runs into things that are a little troublesome as well. So that is really, really important, and that's why I love doing these buddy builds. So let's go ahead and get this nose all nicely glued into place. I'm going to go ahead and start on the bottom of the fuselage. We're going to just kind of tip this nose up into place, and then we're going to go ahead and start working from the bottom to the top and just glue everything together. If we had installed the engine and that little beaver tail that kind of pokes out the back there, we wouldn't be able to use this as a support, because right now I can go ahead and just push the aircraft directly down on its tail and use that to keep a constant pressure on the nose. It really does help to make sure that we have a good solid fit. So once we have this nose glued in here at the bottom, once it kind of tacks up, I'll go ahead and start working my way around the sides and then eventually to the top of the aircraft, and then I can work on the spine and get everything nicely dialed in place. So far so good. I think the extra sanding has really improved the fit. I think we're looking pretty good. Working ourselves down here to the top of the aircraft as well. We don't have a lot of connection points between the actual main body and the nose. There's just a couple of areas here on the top and then the bottom lip with that little tab. Again, just some steady pressure, nice little bit of extra thin Tamiya cement. Just rinse and repeat to make sure that we have everything in position. The whole point here is to eliminate a lot of the seam lines. I can take my time and get everything positioned where it should go, add a little bit of glue, hold it in place, and we're moving on from there. We're also going to go ahead and install the rear engine cone area. That's actually very simple to do. We just have to add a little bit of glue, and this fits up inside the inside of that fuselage. So just push that inside. It has a little bit of a stop there on that beaver tail that hangs out the back. Make sure that fits up nicely. A little bit of Tamiya extra thin. We are good to go. Eventually I'll come back and I'll paint this up and I'll dry brush and get this looking a little bit better, but so far we're looking good. And this is how the aircraft looks right now. We've got the nose glued into place. The rear engine is inserted up inside the fuselage. So now we're going to go ahead and check out these. Now what I did is I cut these little wing extensions off of its main connection point, and we can actually install these separately and then just pose them individually. So that's the right side. The left side is a little tighter. Need to do a bit more sanding on that, but with a bit of force we can get that in there. And then we can just make sure that we match the angles, and then eventually we'll just glue them into place and we're good to go. This way we can come in there, we can paint the entire aircraft, we can paint that silver band around the end of the exhaust area there on the engine, and then after the fact we can go ahead and install these little wing extensions and call it a day. So I'm pretty happy with that. Let's go ahead and move on though to our second time lapse. We have a lot more work to do. We got to get those intakes installed. We have a lot more sanding, some more test fitting. I want to actually work on the vertical tail, do a little bit of kit surgery. I'll show you what that means when we actually get it done, and of course more sanding and more cleanup. So back into that time lapse, guys. Let's go ahead and get this thing wrapped up for today. And just so you guys have kind of a reference, this is what I'm going for right here with the kit surgery I did on the tail. What I did is I used some Dymo tape and we basically just cut out the top portion of the rudder. And as you can see from the references, we can actually re-glue this back in, slightly tilted off to the right, kind of like this. So that's going to add a little bit of excitement there to the static model. And I think that's a good decision to make. It's actually pretty easy to do too. I was worried it would be really difficult, but the plastic is a lot thinner there. So I was able to cut it out without much hassle. But yeah, we got the reference right there. And we actually have seen other references too. It was a pretty common thing to have that top portion canted off there to the right. And just so you guys have an idea of what I'm going for here, let's put in one of these wing extension tabs right here. And this will be actually canted upwards at a pretty decent angle. And then with the tail already installed, we can then tilt this little part of the rudder out to the right side just a tiny bit to give it again a bit more action. And that's why it's nice to have references. You can match the references and add a little bit more interest and a bit more action to your model. That's pretty cool. I like the look of that. So that is going to be it for today. May not seem like a lot of work, but honestly guys, it's been a couple hours here on the bench, so I am happy with my progress. Next time we're going to come on back and work a bit more on the leading edges and the intakes. We also have to work on these leading edge wing fences. Those are looking a little mangled, but that's going to be next episode guys, so stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, go over, check out Joe's build. He is doing fantastic work, not only on his Skyray, but his other build series. He's a great guy, awesome builder. Make sure to drop him a like and subscribe, and we'll see you back here on the next episode of Ben Builds with Joe for more Skyray fun. Until then, you know the drill. Go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool, and we'll see you back here on episode number 6 for Ben Builds with Joe and our F4D-1 Skyray. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you soon.